Anything you'd like to discuss?
What you're proposing entails a radical change in perspective. Mm-hmm. It seems to me it implies that all of existence is taking place within an all-encompassing awareness or consciousness.
Yes.
Where I have the disconnect is when I go into awareness, it's true I can't find a boundary to it or an end to it, but at the same time I don't experience it as all-encompassing. There's a gap there, a connection that I'm unable to make at this point.
Okay. So let's just take, instead of a visual perception, because the visual realm is the last realm of our experience to be colonized by this understanding. So let's take an audible perception instead. For instance, the sound of the heating system. So just give your attention to that sound, the hum of the heating system. And ask yourself, does that sound take place inside awareness or outside awareness?
From my current understanding, I could say either.
Okay, that's fine, that's fair enough. So let's take the possibility that it takes place outside awareness. If you claim that the sound is taking place outside awareness, you must experience the edge or the end of awareness, the place where awareness stops and the sound starts. Try to find that edge.
No, I clearly can't find that edge, but it seems to me that things are occurring outside of my field of awareness altogether.
Okay, but I know it seems like that. We're trying to find out whether it really is like that. So again, it seems like the sound is taking place outside the field of awareness. If it's true, if that is our actual experience, then just like if you say, you look at the field outside the window here and you say the trees take place beyond the field. So what you're saying is that it seems that the sound takes place beyond the field of awareness. The reason we know that the trees take place beyond the field is because we see the edge of the field, where the field stops, and then the trees start. So we can legitimately say the trees take place beyond the field. So now come back to your experience. Can you find the place where the field of awareness stops and the sound starts?
No.
Okay, so if you can't find that edge, what legitimacy is there to the claim that the sound takes place outside awareness?
No, what you've said holds together in my experience and logically, but things are happening on the other side of the world, okay, I think, that are outside of my field of awareness, but are still happening.
Okay, so let's take an event. Let's say that somebody is walking along the streets of New York, which is quite likely, and let's imagine what they're experiencing. Sounds, sights, they're eating a hot dog, tastes, smells, and textures. Yes? Now, do any of those perceptions take place outside their awareness?
Not outside of theirs, no, but outside of mine.
Okay. So we've established that your experience doesn't take place outside your awareness, and their experience doesn't take place outside their awareness. Now, someone is also walking along the streets of London. They're also experiencing sights, sounds, tastes, textures, and smells. Do any of those perceptions take place outside their awareness?
No.
Okay, now let's take all 7 billion of us having some kind of an experience. Does any of that experience take place outside of these apparently 7 billion awarenesses?
No.
Do we know that there is anything outside awareness?
Not for certain, no.
Could we know that there is anything outside awareness?
Not for certain. We could hypothesize it,
Yeah,
but
no.
we could not know it.
I'm not interested in hypothesizing. We can hypothesize pink elephants and green giraffes. We're not interested in hypothesis. It's just what we know for certain.
Okay.
So can we know, do we know, or could we know anything outside awareness?
No.
Okay. And everything we've said so far is just based on our experience. Yes? So now, go back to your own experience of the current sound, which you've acknowledged, and I agree with you, that the sound takes place inside the field of our awareness, of let's say, your awareness and my awareness. Yeah? And now the sound is obviously limited. Yes? We could turn the sound off. It would come to an end. So something that ends is limited. Yes? That's something we can say from our experience. The sound of this voice, for instance, comes to an end. And then it starts again. It has a limit. Okay. Now, what about the awareness, your awareness, in which the sound of the heating appears? We've acknowledged that we can actually experience the end of the sound. Can you experience the end of awareness?
No.
Can anybody experience the end of awareness?
I guess I don't know the answer to that.
Well, imagine experiencing the end of awareness.
Okay, I guess that's by definition impossible.
Okay. So, our experience is that whilst all objects, by objects I mean sights, sounds, tastes, etc., appear in awareness and are by definition limited, both the objects we're experiencing now, plus the objects that the person on the street of New York or London are experiencing, all these objects are limited. We've acknowledged that we can't, however, find a limit to the awareness in which they appear. We presume there is one, but we can't find one. Are we together so far? Yeah. So, if we can't find a limit to the awareness in which all these objects appear, how would it be just not to presume that there is one? And instead of thinking that there are 7 billion awarenesses in which 7 billion perceptions are taking place, what about being open to the possibility that the awareness in which your experience takes place is the same awareness in which my experience takes place? After all, that would be consistent with our understanding, with our actual experience, that we can't find an edge or a border to awareness. So now we have a model where there is just one awareness and 7 billion objects or worlds appearing in it. Yes? Now, is that very different from the conventional model in which there is one space, one physical space, and billions of objects appearing in it? Now, the fact that when you're in your kitchen in America and I'm in my kitchen in the UK, we can't see each other. Yes, we can't communicate with each other. We can't see, I can't see the content of your kitchen from the UK, and you can't see the content of my kitchen from the US. Now, does that fact imply that our two kitchens, our two homes, appear in two different spaces? No.
No.
They obviously appear in the same space, although the content of those two spaces is not available to one another. Now, is that not identical to the possibility that the content of your mind now cannot make contact with the content of the mind of someone walking in the streets of New York? Two totally different perceptions that are not in contact with each other, that cannot see each other, and yet may appear in the same awareness, just as your home in the States and mine in Britain appear in the same physical space.
As a theoretical possibility, I have no problem with it.
Okay.
But the one difference I see is I can fly over to Oxford and see your kitchen. I may not be able to see it now, but I can go over and see it. I can't get in your consciousness.
Okay. What were you thinking at exactly this time yesterday?
I have no idea.
Okay. Do you have any doubt that at this time yesterday you were thinking something?
I was at least aware of something.
You were aware of something, or exactly. There was some thought or perception present. Now, does the fact that you have no access to it now prove that it appeared in a different awareness than the awareness in which your current experience is appearing?
No.
In other words, although you are now not aware of what you were thinking 24 hours ago, that fact doesn't imply, let alone prove, that whatever you were thinking or experiencing 24 years ago appeared in a different awareness.
No, I agree. And I don't disagree with what you're saying as conceivable or possible. I'm saying I can't experience it, at least at this time. It's not something I can get to.
You see, you think that in order to experience that awareness is unlimited, you would have to be able to perceive all the perceptions that are taking place in the universe simultaneously. In other words, you're saying, in order to know for sure that awareness is unlimited, I would have to be experiencing all the trillions of perceptions that are taking place right now. The fact that you can't do that is a limitation of your mind, not a limitation of awareness.
It's not quite the same. I don't have to see your kitchen right now, but I have to be able to see your kitchen at some point in time.
In order to
know that it's all connected.
Okay, then I go back to my previous question. The fact that you can't see the thought, if to be logical, you're saying that the fact that I cannot see, the fact that I can journey to your kitchen proves that it is taking place in the same space. But the fact that I cannot journey to your thought, to my thought, proves that it's not taking place in the same space. So now...
No, it doesn't prove it.
Okay, suggests, fair enough, suggests that it's not taking place. So then my question is, the fact that you cannot journey to the thought that you were having 24 hours ago would, by the same logic, suggest that yesterday's thought took place in a different awareness from today's thought. But that's not the case. You are absolutely certain that the thought you had yesterday, which you can no longer access or visit, took place in the same awareness as your current thought. In other words, the logic that says, I cannot venture and see your thought, and therefore awareness must be limited, is false logic. It doesn't prove what it seems to prove.
Now, logically, I'm not saying there's a problem with what you're saying.
No, but I'm not just talking logically, because it is not just a logical conclusion that you cannot visit yesterday's thought. It is your experience that you cannot find or revisit yesterday's thought. However, that doesn't imply that yesterday's thought didn't take place in this present awareness.
True.
So, if that's true, I have dismantled all the evidence for a separate, limited awareness. Now, you would be quite right in saying that that is not a proof that awareness is unlimited or universal. I absolutely grant you that. But it does dismantle what appears to be absolutely watertight evidence that awareness is limited. There is not one shred of evidence to suggest that it is. The best the mind can do is be open to the possibility that it isn't, and to see that what seems to be conclusive evidence for a limited awareness is simply belief.
I have no problem getting on board with this as a possibility.
Okay.
But it seems to me that it's more than a possibility to you.
Okay. So now, having acknowledged that it's a possibility, and let's say that both these two possibilities are equally possible.
Okay.
Yes, because the mind can't know either way. Yes, it could be either way. Now, for decades, we have lived on the presumption of the first possibility. Not only individually, but as a world culture, the fundamental presumption of our world culture is that awareness is located and limited. One awareness per body-mind. Would you agree that was the fundamental presumption of our world culture?
Absolutely, and beyond a doubt.
Okay. Now, look in your own experience and in the experience of your culture and the world in which you live. Where has this viewpoint brought us? Do you see 7 billion happy, loving, fulfilled people, nations living in harmony with one another, individuals at peace and fulfilled, harmonious families, harmonious relationships, a race living in harmony with other animals and its environment?
Again, absolutely not.
Okay. Could it be that the reason why there is so much conflict, disharmony, dis-ease amongst people has something to do with our fundamental beliefs, and that disharmony could be a reflection or expression of our fundamental beliefs? And if so, and it's a very logical conclusion to draw, If so, how would it be to just give the other possibility a chance to reveal itself as true or not? In other words, having lived for so many decades based on the first model, the first possibility, and seeing the utter failure of it in terms of peace, in terms of happiness, in terms of love, how would it be to try the second possibility?
I'm all in favor of trying the second possibility. That's why I'm asking these questions.
Okay, no, I appreciate the clarity and sincerity of your questions. So, but how would it be to try this second possibility? And what would be the test? How would we know that the second possibility was true or not? In what form would the answer come? What would the certificate be?
Well, I don't know for sure, but I do know that when I go into awareness, I no longer have a sense of being an individual.
Okay.
There is a sense of being connected to something. I don't know what the something is.
Okay. And when you feel that there's no longer a sense of being an individual and you feel connected to something, how is your experience in the world with others? What impact does that have on your relationships, for instance?
It has a radical impact.
How would you describe it?
A sense of love and compassion is present.
Perfect, perfect. So you rightly acknowledge that when you live this second possibility, the impact it has on your life is to bring more love and compassion into relationships. Could it be that that very love is the confirmation of this possibility?
Yes, it could be.
And does it not make sense that when we're living from the other possibility, from the limited awareness model, and we feel that we are a separate self, an individual self cut off from others, what is the one thing that that self wants above all else? If you were to stop all 7 billion separate selves on the street and ask them, what do you want above all else in your life?
I want to be better than everybody else.
I don't think very many people would say that.
That's my own hang-up.
Do you want to be better than everyone else, or do you want to have a life that is full of love? Which would you go for if you had to choose one? To be better than everybody else and to be unloved and unloving, or to be loved and loving and not as good as everybody else?
Well, I guess my assumption is...
Don't guess or assume, just answer the question honestly and clearly. Would you prefer a life that is full of love, or would you prefer to be better than everyone else?
I would prefer a life full of love.
Okay, perfect.
But there's an unconscious assumption that the way to get there...
No, that's not the question. That's true, but it's a different matter.
Okay.
So you acknowledge that the separate self, when we stop the separate self on the street, all 7 billion, and we say, what do you want? To begin with, one will say, I want to be better than everyone else. One will say, I want to be richer than everyone else. One will say, I want a lovely family, and etc., etc. But if we push a little bit harder and say, no, but what do you deeply want, everyone eventually will say love, or peace or happiness, which in my language are synonyms for love. If we pushed a little bit harder, that's what everyone would say. In other words, if we're living this first possibility, the possibility that awareness is limited, by definition we feel fragmented. We don't feel connected. Love is not present. And the one thing we want is love. Now, you yourself said that when you live from this second possibility, the first effect of that possibility in your life, you said, was love and compassion. Isn't there a connection?
Oh, beyond a doubt.
Beyond a doubt. Could it not be that what the separate self longs for, what it deeply intuits, because all separate selves long for love because they know love. You can't long for love if you don't know what it is. Everybody knows what love is. Otherwise, we wouldn't know what to long for. Why do we know what love is? Because everybody, in their most essential being, is this unlimited awareness, through which we are connected to all other beings. In other words, love is the confirmation of this second possibility. Why is it the confirmation? Because it is the highest experience that humans can have. It is the highest prize. If you got $1 million for discovering that awareness was universal, it wouldn't be convincing. Only something that we want above all else could be the confirmation. It would have to be the highest thing. Only the highest thing possible for human beings could be a confirmation of this possibility. And that is love or happiness. That is the confirmation. Love is the experience that awareness is unlimited. We never have to formulate the concept of an unlimited awareness. We won't die unfulfilled if we never formulate the idea of an unlimited awareness. But we will die unfulfilled, if we don't die with love in our hearts. Could anything less than that truly fulfill you?
No.
That's the thing to go for. And if you discover that love, when you take the position of unlimited awareness, then I would recommend taking that position.
I am doing my best.
No, I see that. Your line of questioning is beautiful. It's very sincere and very clear. I appreciate it. I see that you're doing your very best, and I feel that your questions, your doubting questions, come from intelligence. They're excellent questions to ask, because these are the questions that enable you to really explore your experience. So although I'm countering your questions, don't feel that I'm not appreciating them. Your questions are a beautiful line of sincere, genuine interest.